The second I came back to myself, I put the divorce papers in front of Khloe. She didn't even glance at them, just tossed the folder aside. You're not getting custody of our daughter. I don't want custody. Khloe's eyes snapped up to mine. Finally see reason? I see it perfectly. In my last life, I couldn't bear to leave my daughter, so I let myself get tangled up with Khloe for the better part of my life, right up until our daughter was a grown woman. But on her wedding day, she stood in front of everyone and said, I just hope my dad can finally let my mom be happy with Leo. Leo has stood by my mom for so many years. It hasn't been easy for him. I'm not doing my homework, and you can't make me. 8-year-old Sophie was throwing a full-blown tantrum on the living room floor, a screaming, kicking mess, confident that I was powerless against her. This was a daily ritual. I was the one who insisted on homework before playtime. I was the one who limited TV to 30 minutes. I was the one who only allowed fried chicken and burgers once a week. I set rules for her, hoping she'd develop good habits. But all those habits became a running joke the day Leo Vance entered our lives. She would rail at me. Leo never makes me do homework. He just wants to play with me. Leo would never stop me from eating chicken nuggets. He says a girl needs to eat to grow tall. I don't like you at all. I wish Leo was my dad. In my last life, those words cut me to the bone, but I always forgave her. I told myself she was just a kid that she didn't understand. I thought that when she grew up, she'd finally see that I did it all for her own good. So I kept pushing her to study, to exercise, to eat right. And she did grow up, graduated from a top university, founded her own company, and married a man from a family as wealthy as ours. On her wedding day, the officiant asked her to thank her parents. She turned to me, in front of all our guests, and said, I hope you can finally let my mom be happy with Leo. Leo has stood by my mom for so many years. It hasn't been easy for him. Down in the audience, Leo Vance was sobbing like his heart was breaking, as if all his years of suffering had finally been validated in that single moment. And there I was, standing on the stage, completely redundant. A punchline. Dad, she continued, you spent my whole childhood forcing me to do things I hated. If it weren't for Leo, who was always there for me, giving me warmth and encouragement behind the scenes, I would have been ruined. You, the mom, haven't had a real marriage in years. Why do you keep clinging to your position, making everyone miserable? I don't remember how I stumbled out of Sophie's wedding. I just know that as soon as I left the hotel, I walked straight into a red light and was hit by a car. I died, and then, somehow, I was born again. Now, looking at my daughter, a little demon in the middle of a tantrum, I simply nodded. Fine, no homework. Sophie stopped screaming and looked up from the floor, surprised. Are you serious? Of course, I said calmly. Then can I keep watching TV? You can watch TV, and you can play on the tablet. Can I eat potato chips while I play? She pressed, sensing an opportunity. Whatever you want. Why are you suddenly being so nice to me? She asked, baffled. I just smiled without answering. A viper is a viper, no matter how much you try to nurture it. It doesn't deserve my sincerity. Are you scared that I'll only like Leo from now on, and not you? Sophie said, a smug look on her face. From now on, I said, enunciating every word, whatever you want, you'll get, including your precious Leo. After I caved to every one of Sophie's unreasonable demands, she became completely uncontrollable. The first thing she did after school was grab her tablet. She played on it during dinner. She even slept with it clutched in her hands. If she stayed up too late playing and couldn't get up in the morning, I didn't wake her. I let her sleep in as long as she wanted. When she woke up, she could go to school if she felt like it. If not, I didn't force her. I kept the pantry stocked with all her favorite junk food. Even the housekeeper couldn't stand it anymore. Sir, she said, trying to reason with me, if you keep spoiling her like this, you're going to ruin her. How so? I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I thought forcing her to do things she dislikes is what ruins her. It didn't take long for Sophie's behavior to draw the school's attention. Her teacher called me, telling me Sophie was openly defying her in class, even yelling, my parents don't care what I do, so why should you? I'm sorry, you're right, I can't control her. For anything else, you should probably contact my wife. I gave the teacher Khloe's number. Then I hung up and went back to my video game. When I got home later, feeling lighter than I had in years, Khloe was standing in the living room. She hadn't been home in ages. Her face was a mask of fury, her voice laced with contempt. Ethan, you're getting more creative with your little schemes. So this is your new tactic to get me to come home? Using our daughter? She was right. I didn't want her to come home. After all, calling her was useless. I can't even remember when Khloe and I became enemies. We had fallen in love on our own terms, gotten married because we wanted to build a business from the ground up together. Once the company was stable, I stepped back, choosing to be a stay-at-home dad. I poured all my energy into Sophie. By the time I noticed something was wrong with Khloe, she was already having an emotional affair. The object of her affection was a 20-year-old intern at the company, Leo Vance. Young, energetic, handsome. I stumbled upon their text messages by accident. Khloe, you remind me of my husband when he was young. He was just as bright and handsome as you are. Leo, and now? He'd added a curious-looking emoji. Khloe, now he's let himself go. Sometimes, when we're intimate, it's just a little gross. I never imagined that's how Khloe saw me. I lost my mind. I felt a humiliation so profound it was physical. I demanded a divorce. Khloe refused. She said she was just kidding around with the intern, that I was blowing it all out of proportion. Both our parents came to talk me down, saying our daughter was only 2, that for her sake, I should let this go. Khloe swore she'd cut off all contact with Leo. To prove her loyalty, she fired him immediately. And at that point, nothing physical had actually happened between them. So, in the end, I forgave her. I even started to wonder if I was the problem. Maybe I had focused too much on our daughter, neglecting Khloe, neglecting myself. As I was trying to change, Khloe cheated for real. I was at the hospital with Sophie, who was burning up with a high fever, when Leo sent me the photos of him and Khloe in bed together. Sophie had suffered a febrile seizure, and I'd rushed her to the ER. I called Khloe, and she was nothing but impatient. Enough, Ethan. I'm at a business dinner. Stop making up excuses to drag me home. I was alone at the hospital, watching over Sophie, when Leo's pictures came through in the middle of the night. They were graphic. He sent a message with them. Khloe says even if you lost the weight, you'd still be ugly. Not young and handsome like me. In that moment, I understood. Cheating is cheating. There's no line between emotional and physical. I asked for a divorce again. This time, Khloe didn't refuse, but she was adamant. Sophie would stay with her. But back then, Sophie was my entire world. I had poured every ounce of my love into her. She was only 3. She adored me. If I wasn't there, she would cry herself awake all night. I couldn't leave her. I considered fighting for custody in court, but I hadn't worked in years. I wouldn't stand a chance against Khloe. So our marriage just dragged on, this twisted mess of resentment. She refused to give up custody. I refused to give it up either. As Sophie got older, I guess I just got used to our broken, rotten marriage. Habit is a terrifying thing. I hated Khloe for what she did, but I still ended up spending most of my life with her. Thank God for second chances. I pulled open the desk drawer and calmly slid the divorce papers back over to Khloe. The moment she saw them, her smile was pure acid. Ethan, I thought you'd finally come to your senses. You stopped your drama for a while, and now you're starting again? What is it you want? Isn't the money I give you every month enough? It's not enough, I replied. How much do you want? Khloe asked, expansive. Half the company's assets. Are you out of your mind, Ethan? Have you completely lost it? She exploded. We founded the company together. It's marital property. I spoke with a lawyer. Half of it is legally mine. And, Khloe said, bored, that's only marital property if we get a divorce. And what do you think this is? I motioned toward the papers. Khloe sneered, dismissively shoving the agreement aside again. You're not getting custody of our daughter. I don't want her anymore. Khloe's head snapped up. Finally see reason? I see it perfectly. Impatiently, Khloe snatched the divorce papers back and began to read them carefully. I hadn't asked for a penny more than what I was legally owed, and I had voluntarily signed over full custody of Sophie to her. Khloe's brow furrowed. She put the papers down. Ethan, don't you dare regret this. Voluntarily giving up custody means you can't see Sophie without my permission. I know. Once we're divorced, I will never remarry you. Not even for Sophie, Khloe threatened. Just sign it. I was done talking. If she hadn't been impossible to get a hold of, I would have done this the first second I woke up in this new life. Khloe saw the resolve in my eyes. With a flourish, she signed her name. Ethan, you brought this on yourself. If you hadn't kept pushing me like this, for the sake of our daughter and the years we had together, I might have let you be my husband for the rest of our lives. You're the one who didn't know how to appreciate it. Whatever helps you sleep at night, I said, not caring in the slightest. Staying married to Khloe was never about being her husband. It was purely about the bond of blood with my daughter. Pack your things and get out of my house. Khloe threw the signed papers at me. My bags were already packed. I've been waiting for this moment. I turned and went upstairs. Sophie had come home from school with Khloe. Apparently, her teacher had suspended her for 2 days to reflect on her behavior. She'd been hiding in a corner, listening to our conversation. Seeing me leave, she scrambled to follow. Are you really divorcing, Mom? Sophie asked. Happy now, I said flatly, grabbing my suitcase. No one's going to be telling you what to do anymore. You can do whatever you want. Aren't you afraid that after you divorce Mom, No one will ever marry you again? Where did you hear that? I looked at her amused. Grandma and Mom both said it. Sophie stated matter-of-factly. They said you're not good enough for Mom, and that if you ever divorced her, no one else would want you. They said you wouldn't dare. I had to laugh. I already knew what kind of person Khloe was. I just hadn't realized her mother was the same. She always acted so nice, telling me to my face that her daughter was wrong and that I had it so hard raising Sophie. Turns out, behind my back, she just saw me as a free nanny for her granddaughter. It didn't matter anymore. They were all about to become irrelevant. If you promise to really leave me alone and leave Mom and Leo alone, I'll go beg Mom not to divorce you, Sophie offered, trying to bargain. No, thanks. I reached out and patted her head, my voice gentle. Take care of yourself from now on. Because from now on, her life had nothing to do with me. I walked out, dragging 2 large suitcases behind me. I didn't look back. I moved into a fully furnished apartment I'd already found near Northgate University's campus. I was planning to go to grad school to reinvest in myself. Khloe and I were college sweethearts. To help her start the company, I'd given up a full-ride scholarship for my master's. After we became successful and had Sophie, my focus shifted entirely to our family. I'd always regretted not getting my master's, not getting my PhD. Being reborn has taught me one profound lesson. You have to live for yourself. No one else can truly understand what you've been through. The day after I moved out of Khloe's mansion, I saw a post from Leo on my Instagram feed. He had added me himself a long time ago. At a company anniversary party I attended with Khloe, he'd complimented my tie and asked to connect, then messaged me for a link to buy it. He did end up with a tie exactly like mine, but he hadn't bought it. Khloe had given it to him. Today his post read, "Poverty really limits your imagination. I guess a backyard this big is for playing soccer?" He'd attached a photo of the backyard of Khloe's house. The goal, obviously, was to announce to the world that he was now officially with Khloe. He was no longer the shameful little boy toy hiding in the shadows. I gave the post a like. Trash and trashier. A match made in hell. The second I liked it, Leo sent me a private message. "Ethan, my man, hope you don't mind the post. Khloe made me do it. Said I've been wrong for too long." To provoke me, Leo would occasionally send me intimate pictures of him and Khloe or little snippets of text about how much she loved him. Then he'd unsent them just as quickly. Followed by, "Oops, wrong person." In my past life, his antics had driven me into a blind rage, leading to huge fights with Khloe. The end result was always the same. Our relationship deteriorated further. She basically stopped coming home. Even for Sophie's birthday, she'd take her out to celebrate with Leo. And every time Sophie came back from seeing him, she'd say, "Leo is so nice to me. He's so gentle and handsome. I want him to be my dad." Looking back now, I have no idea how I endured it all. But the wound was so deep that now, there's not a single shred of attachment left. I replied with a smile. "Why would I? Didn't I just like your post? You're just putting on a show for Khloe, aren't you?" Leo was convinced this divorce was just me throwing a tantrum. I didn't feel like engaging. It was a waste of time. I was about to block him. Another message came through. "You forgot something?" Impossible. I had checked everything meticulously. There was no way I'd left anything behind. Then he sent a picture. It was a box of condoms. I replied magnanimously, "They're all yours. They're expired." Leo sent a laughing emoji, then added, "You couldn't even use up a box from years ago?" With me, Khloe goes through several a day. I can't buy them fast enough. Well, isn't that perfect? You love picking on my trash. Glad to see it's being put to good use. My tone was utterly serene. Who are you calling trash? Leo was instantly furious. As he was frantically typing, I blocked him. Out of sight, out of mind. With Leo gone, my social media feed was refreshingly clean. Free from distractions, I threw myself into preparing for my grad school applications. A month later, I got an unexpected call from Khloe. She started yelling the second I answered. "Ethan, where have you been hiding? If you didn't want this divorce, why did you put on such a show? It's too late now." It hit me then. Today was the last day of the mandatory waiting period. We were supposed to go to the courthouse to finalize the divorce. "I'll be right there." I hung up and didn't waste a second, flooring it all the way to the courthouse. When Khloe saw me arrive, a smirk played on her lips. When we had first filed, we'd agreed to meet at 10 this morning. It was now noon, and the clerks were on their lunch break. Khloe's voice was dripping with contempt. "Ethan, I told you when you made me sign those papers that there would be no going back. Whatever games you're playing today, this divorce is happening." "Good," I agreed readily. "And I should thank you. If you hadn't stepped aside, I never would have known how good Leo is with kids at his age. When you were taking care of Sophie, the house was always in chaos. But since Leo's been around, she's been an absolute angel." Khloe gloated. "Well, Congratulations on finding another man willing to raise your child for you. Still trying to act tough? Khloe said with a dismissive wave. Let's see how long you can keep it up. The moment I had the finalized divorce decree in my hand, I let out a silent sigh of relief. I was genuinely afraid that my delay might have made Khloe lose her patience and leave. The last thing I wanted was to waste another second of my life on her. Ethan, Khloe shouted from behind me as I walked away quickly. From now on, there's nothing between us. If you regret this. I got in my car and drove off, leaving her words hanging in the air. I couldn't bear to hear another one. Finally free, my motivation to study surged. Every day, I buried myself in books and made sure to work out. I wouldn't let myself fall apart physically like I did in my last life. After half a year of relentless effort, I was accepted. During that time, Sophie called me once. She stammered, "Dad, do you miss me?" I answered honestly, "No, I've been really busy." "Today's my 9th birthday," she said, her voice sounding small. "Happy birthday," I said with a smile. "Don't you want to celebrate with me? Your mother made it clear that I can't see you alone without her permission. Can't you just ask her?" Sophie pleaded. "No. Why do you have to be so stubborn with Mom?" Actually, I have to go. I have something important to do." I hung up on her. That was something that would have been unthinkable before. I used to never end a call with her until she hung up first. See, nothing is truly indispensable. All it takes is enough disappointment. One night, deep into my first semester of grad school, my phone rang. I hadn't blocked Khloe's number because I never thought she'd actually contact me. And true to form, in the years since our divorce, she'd been the perfect ex. Completely silent, as if she were dead. Dazed with sleep, I didn't check the caller ID. "Hello. Ethan, I'm not giving you another chance." Khloe's voice, cold as ice, came through the phone. I was completely bewildered. Has she lost her mind? "I'm pregnant with Leo's child. We're getting married," she announced proudly. "Congratulations." As annoyed as I was to be woken up, I offered the polite response. Khloe let out what sounded like a cold laugh, then hung up. I didn't think anything of it. Not until I received a wedding invitation from Khloe and Leo. I assumed they'd sent it by mistake, but my name was printed on it in elegant script. Of course, just because they invited me didn't mean I had to go. I tossed it in the trash. That afternoon, Sophie called. "Dad, why aren't you here yet?" "Here where?" I asked, confused. "Mom and Leo's wedding. At the hotel. I never said I was coming. But Mom sent you an invitation, didn't she? I've been saving a seat for you since this morning. Why didn't you come?" Sophie's voice started to crack. I felt nothing. "I have things to do. I can't make it," I said calmly. "Thanks for saving me a seat, but you can give it to someone else now." I was about to hang up. "Are those things more important than me?" Sophie asked, her voice breaking completely. I thought for a moment, then answered her with brutal honesty. "Yes, they are. You aren't important at all anymore." After I hung up on my daughter, Khloe called. "Ethan, so you're not happy about me marrying Leo, and you're taking it out on our daughter? Is that how it is?" "What?" I was baffled. "What did you just say to her?" "She's been crying nonstop." "I didn't yell at her," I explained. "Don't lie. You just can't stand to see me marry Leo, so you're using Sophie to hurt me." At that moment, I was rendered speechless. "Admit it, right?" Khloe's voice was cold when I didn't respond. "Well, it's too late. You can regret it all you want, but it won't change anything. I wish you and Leo a lifetime of happiness." After I hung up, I blocked her number 2. I assumed that with Khloe and Leo married, we would have even less reason to interact. But less than a month later, she showed up at the entrance to Northgate University. I was just leaving the lab with my colleague, Dr. Reed. We were deep in a discussion about experimental data. Suddenly, I saw Khloe waiting by the main gate with Sophie. How did she even know I was in grad school? The moment Khloe saw me, her gaze shifted to the woman beside me. I thought I saw a flash of anger in her eyes, but maybe I imagined it. Her voice was laced with poison. Well, no wonder you were so quick to abandon your daughter. Found a replacement already, have we?" "Ethan, does she know you're divorced with a child?" "I do." Evelyn Reed answered before I could, her tone crisp. "I also heard his ex-wife was a real piece of work. You wouldn't happen to know her, would you?" I couldn't help but let out a laugh. Khloe's face turned dark. "I need to speak with Ethan," she said coldly, a clear dismissal. Evelyn ignored her and turned to me. "Trouble?" "No," I smiled at her. "You go on ahead. I'll be fine. Call me if you need me. I'll call the cops for you." "Deal." Evelyn walked away. "She's long gone. Still can't take your eyes off her." Khloe sneered. I pulled my gaze back to her. "What do you want?" "What's the point of blocking me?" she shot back. "Why keep the number of someone who's irrelevant?" I said simply, "So you're really done with your daughter, is that it?" I glanced at Sophie. She was staring at me with wide, hopeful eyes. I smiled. "She's the one who didn't want me. I'm just respecting her choice. I never said I didn't want you." Sophie blurted out. I want to be with you forever. I walked over to her. She'd clearly put on weight. I smiled. Have you forgotten? You're the one who said you wish Leo could be your dad. Now he is. Shouldn't you be happy? Sophie's eyes welled up with tears, and she bit her lip, looking miserable. Khloe dropped the pretense. I'm pregnant. Leo is busy taking care of me, and he's developed some sort of pregnancy-related anxiety. He gets agitated easily. The doctor says it's because he's too worried about me and the baby. So, for the time being, Sophie needs to stay with you. I can't. I'm busy, I said, my tone apologetic but firm. My workload at the lab is insane, and I'm preparing my Ph.D. applications. I don't have the time to look after her. You think your stupid degree is more important than your daughter? Khloe's temper flared. You're not a kid anymore. What's the point of getting another degree? How much money will that make you? Isn't the settlement I gave you enough to last a lifetime? Ethan, stop putting on this act. I didn't want to fight with her, but some people just don't know when to quit. I took a deep breath. Khloe, in all the years we were together, did I ever once do anything to wrong you? Why are you bringing this up now? She snapped. I never wronged you. In fact, I was completely devoted to you, to Sophie, to our family. Now we're divorced. You're the one who fought for custody, and Sophie is the one who said she preferred Leo. I gave all of you what you wanted. Now, I'm just trying to live my own life. Is there something wrong with that? When did I say you were wrong? Then why are you questioning my decision to go back to school? Isn't this a critical time? Can't you make a small sacrifice for your daughter? Khloe said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Sacrifice. I asked, a cold laugh escaping my lips. Why am I always the one who has to make the sacrifice? When we graduated from college, you said you needed me to help you start the company, so I sacrificed my graduate scholarship. After the company took off and we had Sophie, you said I should sacrifice my career to stay home. And then when we divorced, I sacrificed custody of our daughter, just like you wanted. The more I spoke, the more absurd it all sounded. And now, you have a new family, you don't want your daughter anymore, and you're demanding that I sacrifice my own life again to accommodate your happiness. Khloe, don't you think you're being a little shameless? When did I say I don't want her? I said you'd be looking after her temporarily, while Leo is taking care of me. I'll pay double the child support. Khloe was getting flustered, her voice rising. And what if Leo gets postpartum depression while you're recovering for childbirth? And after that, what if he develops a nervous breakdown? There are so many illnesses in the world. I'm sure he can find one that suits him. My voice was laced with sarcasm. Leo isn't like that. He's wonderful to Sophie, treats her like his own. Khloe insisted, clearly understanding my implication. If that's the case, then how could Sophie possibly be a problem for him while he's looking after you? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Khloe was struck silent, unable to respond. Suddenly, Sophie asked in a pained voice, Dad, do you really not want me anymore? She was 10 now, old enough to understand everything we were saying. It's not that I don't want you. It's just that you have Leo as your new dad now, so I don't have to worry, I told her gently. Before, when I wanted her to study, I was always the bad guy. Now that I had no expectations for her, I wouldn't say a single harsh word. But that didn't seem to satisfy her. Dad, don't smile at me like that, she said. When you smile like that, it feels like you don't love me anymore. I patted her head. How can I not love you? I just don't want to force you to do things you don't like anymore. I wouldn't want to ruin you when you grow up. That's enough, Ethan. Khloe couldn't take my veiled insults anymore. Her pride was clearly wounded. For years, she had never been on the losing end of an argument with me. She grabbed Sophie's hand and started to leave, but not without a parting shot. Since you refuse to take care of your own daughter, I won't beg you, but don't expect her to ever acknowledge you as her father again. I shrugged, feigning indifference. It didn't matter. No matter how I treated her, she'd grow up to acknowledge only her precious Leo anyway. Why should I walk into a fire I didn't start? I focused on living the life I wanted. Even though the days were exhausting, they were filled with joy and a sense of accomplishment. It turned out that being good to yourself was a pretty good way to live. If only I weren't occasionally disturbed. Today, after finishing a set of experiments, I checked my phone, which had been on silent. Over a dozen missed calls from an unknown number. I called it back. Khloe answered. Ethan, get to the hospital. Sophie had an accident. She's injured. I hesitated for a moment, but I went. No matter what, Sophie was my flesh and blood. The love was gone, but the responsibility remained. As I approached her room, I could hear angry shouts from inside. It was Leo, screaming. Khloe, how much longer until you get your daughter out of here? If you don't send her away, she's going to be the death of me. I told you, Sophie isn't doing anything to you. Why won't you just leave her alone? She fell down the stairs and broke a bone, and you don't even care. Chloe's voice was just as loud. So, you want to see me fall down the stairs, is that it? If I die, you'll have an excuse to get back with Ethan, and your perfect little family can be reunited. That's enough, Leo. Stop being so dramatic. Sophie needs to rest. Khloe had lost her patience. Fine. You want dramatic? I'll show you dramatic. I'm putting my foot down. Leo pressed on, his voice venomous. Either your daughter goes, or I jump off a building and leave that little parasite in your stomach without a father. She's 10 years old, Leo. Where is she supposed to go? Chloe's voice trembled with rage. I don't care where she goes, as long as I never have to see her again. Leo's tone was final. Otherwise, you can get ready for a double funeral. He spun around and stormed out of the room, running straight into me. Leo froze when he saw me, clearly stunned. I was just as shocked. Was this the same vibrant, handsome, energetic young man? His face was contorted with rage, his fingernails were caked with dirt, and his hair was a greasy, unkempt mess. He hadn't even bothered to shave. It had only been 2 years. Ethan, what are you doing here? Leo snapped, primed to explode at anyone. Khloe told me Sophie was in the hospital. I came to see her. Are you here to see Sophie or Khloe? What? You heard she was pregnant with my kid and couldn't stand it. Came sniffing around to try and get her back. This guy's unhinged, I thought. But his random outbursts weren't exactly surprising. Though I hadn't seen Leo in 2 years, Khloe and I still had mutual friends. I'd heard whispers. They said ever since Leo found out Khloe was having a girl, he'd been completely out of control. If there was a remotely attractive man working at Khloe's company, he'd march in and accuse him of trying to seduce her, forcing them to quit. He forbade her from going to business dinners. If she went anyway, he'd show up and cause a massive scene. Khloe had lost major deals because of him. People said Khloe was at her wit's end. When I first heard it, I found it almost funny. At her wit's end? I thought Khloe adored his lively spirit. Get out. Khloe suddenly appeared at the doorway, screaming at Leo. She looked like she wanted to tear him apart. Leo seemed taken aback by her ferocity, genuinely startled. But then his eyes darted to Khloe's pregnant belly, and a wave of confidence washed over him. He yelled back, "If you dare cheat on me, I'll kill myself. And you'd better deal with your daughter, or you and I are finished." He stormed off down the hall. Khloe stood there, shaking with fury. I just watched from the sidelines, as if it were all a dark comedy. I bet you think I deserve this, don't you? Khloe asked suddenly, turning to me. I wiped the smile from my face. It has nothing to do with me. I have no opinion. I never thought Leo would change like this. I'm not interested in what's going on with you and him. I reminded her. I'm here to see my daughter. Khloe said nothing more. I walked into Sophie's room. She was lying in bed, her eyes red and puffy. She had clearly heard the entire fight. The moment she saw me, a light flickered in her eyes. "Dad," she called out, her voice filled with excitement. I nodded, my response lukewarm. I just asked a few simple questions about what happened. She said she was coming home from school and ran into Leo on the stairs. She claimed he pushed her. Sophie went on, saying Leo was horrible to her. All the kindness he'd shown her before was just an act. Ever since he married her mom, he would hit and curse at her in secret, calling her a stray that nobody wanted. He would constantly force her to eat junk food, even when she was full, telling her that trash was all she deserved. The more she talked, the harder she cried. I listened, my expression unchanged. My voice was calm when I finally spoke. You shouldn't be telling me this. You should be telling your mother or your grandmother. They don't believe me. They only believe Leo. Sophie sobbed. They only care about the baby in mom's stomach. They don't care about me at all. They don't love me anymore. They hate me. Dad, please, let me come with you. She grabbed my hand, her grip desperate. I promise I'll be good. I'll listen to you. I'll never say bad things about you again. Dad, I know you're the one who loves me most. It was all my fault before. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have hated you. I was wrong. Can you please forgive me? She kept crying and crying, terrified that I would abandon her for good. But I already had. I gently pried her hand off mine. My voice was soft but distant. Sophie, everyone has to live with the consequences of their choices. The moment you chose Leo, I stepped out of your world. But I regret it. I know I was wrong. If you have regrets, you should focus on changing yourself, not on changing me, I said evenly. And my life now isn't going to change for anyone, especially not for you or Khloe. I walked out of her room without another word. Forgiveness was impossible. It had never even been a consideration. Ethan, when did you become so cold-blooded? Khloe was waiting for me outside the door, her voice a furious accusation. Sophie is your own daughter. Are you really going to just abandon her? Don't you feel like you've wronged her? I stopped and turned, answering her point by point. First, as per our divorce agreement, I pay her child support every month. I have fulfilled my financial responsibilities as a father. I have not abandoned her. Second, Sophie is also your daughter, and you have sole custody. It is your responsibility to manage your household and provide her with a stable living environment. Finally, our marriage ended because you cheated. You have no right to say I've wronged Sophie. The only one who wronged her is you. Khloe's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. After a long moment, she seemed to summon a great deal of courage. Ethan, do you need me to beg? I just looked at her, confused. All of this. You're doing it because you want me to apologize, to admit that I regret divorcing you and marrying Leo. Fine. I admit it. I was wrong. I shouldn't have let Leo seduce me. I shouldn't have let him destroy our marriage. I shouldn't have divorced you. Khloe's apology was steeped in arrogance. She continued, I promise you, as soon as I have this baby and I'm legally allowed to divorce Leo, I'll do it immediately. We can get back together. I remained silent, genuinely stunned by her audacity. I couldn't comprehend how a person could be so shameless, so entitled to say such things. I know you've been single these past 2 years, Khloe pressed on, and you've been working on yourself, going to school, getting back in shape. You did it all to make me regret it, didn't you? So you think my life now is just a performance for your benefit? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ethan, we're not young anymore. Let's not play these games. You should take the win while you can. I don't have that much patience. She clearly wanted to cut to the chase. I have a large condo downtown. You and Sophie can move in there for now. After I divorce Leo, you can move back into the house. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and smiled. Khloe's temper began to flare. What are you smiling at? Overjoyed. I'm smiling because I'm wondering how it's possible for someone to be so utterly shameless. Ethan, she roared. I just don't understand where you get the confidence to think that I would ever remarry a self-absorbed, promiscuous, arrogant cheater. Am I insane? You'd better think carefully about what you're saying. Ethan, I'm giving you one chance to come back for our daughter's sake. Don't push your luck. You should save that golden opportunity for someone else. I can't handle it. I added, enunciating every syllable, and I don't want it. Stop with the sarcastic act, Khloe seethed. Do you really think any woman would want a divorced man in his 30s with a 10-year-old kid? They'll play with you, sure, but no woman is going to actually marry a man like that. You managed to get remarried, didn't you? I retorted. It's different for men and women. As long as a woman can still have children, she'll always find a husband. You, on the other hand, are a different story. Her contempt was absolute. So that was it. That was the source of her confidence. The reason she could cheat repeatedly without a second thought. She was a woman, and that made her smug. You don't need to worry about me. Even if I end up alone for the rest of my life, I would never consider you again, I said, rejecting her completely. Before she could respond, I added, besides, who says a man needs a woman to live? Why can't I just be happy on my own? My life is perfectly fine by myself. Why would I want to go and serve someone else? Can I spend my own money? Can't I enjoy my own life? Am I missing an arm or a leg? Do I absolutely need a woman? Khloe's face was beet red. The more I talked, the more ridiculous it all seemed. I just laughed and walked away. I couldn't believe it. What century was this? How could her twisted brand of female privilege still be so absolute? I must have had a screw loose in my last life to put up with her for so long. After that unpleasant encounter, she didn't bother me again. I was successfully accepted into the Ph.D. program, continuing my work in a field I loved. There was a college reunion. I hadn't planned on going, but my old roommate wore me down. He swore that Khloe wouldn't be there, that her life was too much of a mess for her to show up. So I agreed. During dinner, the gossip started flowing. You guys hear about Khloe? Her little boy toy nearly drove her insane, one of my classmates announced. He glanced over at me. Ethan, you don't mind if we talk about your ex-wife, do you? You said it yourself. She's my ex-wife. Why would I mind? I said with a smile. All right then, gloves are off. The classmate dove in. Her boy toy is a total drama king. He's constantly embarrassing her in public, forbids her from having any good-looking male employees, and crashes her business dinners to cause a scene. He's practically running her company into the ground. I heard he's even trying to kick her older daughter out of the house to make room for his own. But that's not even the best part. There's something even crazier. Everyone leaned in, curious. My classmate's expression was theatrical. The baby girl Khloe just had. Turns out it's not his. For real. No way. How did they find out? A chorus of voices asked. You know how they test the baby's blood type of birth? The baby is type O. Khloe and him are both type AB. It's genetically impossible for them to have a type O child. Her boy toy must have lost his mind. He got cheated on. And the craziest part is, he was using that kid as leverage to be a complete tyrant. A classmate chimed in. Yeah, I heard they're in the middle of divorce proceedings now. And because Khloe assaulted him, she's going to have to pay him a hefty settlement. I sat there listening. I couldn't deny a certain sense of satisfaction. My roommate nudged me, grinning. See? Worth coming just for the gossip, right? I nodded. It had definitely improved my mood. Just as the reunion was winding down, however, the unthinkable happened. Khloe walked in. After spending the entire evening talking about her, seeing her in the flesh was awkward. Is it over? Khloe asked, looking completely at ease. Yeah, we're wrapping up, the class president said quickly. Sorry, I'm a little late. No problem. We'll all get together again sometime, he said. Normally, they might have organized an after-party to include her, but tonight, everyone was just ready to leave. Khloe didn't say anything else. People started trickling out. I'd had a bit to drink, so I hadn't driven. I was standing by the road, trying to hail an Uber. I'll give you a ride. Khloe rolled down her car window. No, thanks, I said. Come on, it's on my way. Really, I'm good. She sighed, pulled the car over, and got out, walking toward me. I pretended not to see her. You must have heard about what happened with me and Leo, she said. Just heard tonight. I didn't try to hide it. It was, after all, pretty damn funny. I officially divorced him today, Khloe said, watching me. I didn't respond. It had nothing to do with me, and I wasn't interested. Last time, I wasn't sincere enough, she said suddenly, her voice uncharacteristically soft. The truth is, I regretted it a long time ago. I was just too proud to come and beg you. I looked at her, finding the whole situation hilarious. And now you've found your humility? What's the matter? Suddenly run out of options. I thought women were celebrated for turning over a new leaf. Ethan, I know I said some horrible things before, but I honestly wasn't trying to hurt you. I didn't know how to get you to come back to me, Khloe said, her voice filled with frustration. So, I tried to provoke you. Well, thank you for that. Your brilliant strategy succeeded in making me find you even more disgusting. A wave of red and white washed over Khloe's face. She said, Ethan, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong. I swear, I will never do anything to betray you again. Let's start over. Me, you, and our daughter. Our family of 3. Family of 3? How did she have the audacity to even say those words? The thought alone made me want to puke. Come home with me, she said, reaching for my arm. I sidestepped her perfectly. Khloe looked mortified. Sophie is waiting for us at home. She's missed you so much these past few years, and she deeply regrets the things she said to you. And honestly, it's not just her. I regret it too. So, can you forgive us just this once? No, I said, shaking my head. The answer was absolute. Ethan, why should I forgive you just because you regret it? What about everything I went through? What was that all for? I asked, a cold sneer on my face. What about the enlightenment I paid for with an entire lifetime? What lifetime? Khloe asked, confused. I didn't feel the need to explain. From the moment we divorced, we were finished. Don't waste your time coming to me anymore. Don't use our daughter as a bargaining chip. It won't work. Not only will it not work, but I find you incredibly annoying. You're disrupting my life. Are you worried I haven't really changed? She asked. It doesn't matter to me. If I were you, I'd be worried too, Khloe said, as if she completely understood. I'll prove it to you. How much clearer do I have to be? I will not get back together with you. But you've been single this whole time, haven't you? Khloe was convinced my single status was proof I was waiting for her to come to her senses. I was too tired to argue. Khloe was pathologically self-confident. She genuinely believed that if she just turned around, I'd be right there waiting for her. Let her believe it. Sooner or later, she'd realize I was already long gone. So far gone she could never catch up. So far above her, she wasn't even worthy. 6 months later was Northgate University's centennial celebration. All alumni were invited back to campus. The university was buzzing with excitement. And I, as one of the university's distinguished alumni, was standing on the stage of the grand auditorium, giving a keynote speech. The hall was packed. Khloe was in the audience. She probably couldn't believe her eyes, seeing me on such a prestigious, high-profile stage. On the massive screen behind me was a summary of my academic achievements over the past few years, accomplishments that would earn me a permanent place in a university's 100-year historical gallery. When my speech ended, the auditorium erupted in thunderous applause. I thought I even heard someone yell, "You're amazing." I smiled, bowed, and left the stage. Walking across campus, I was stopped by students who recognized me, asking for photos and autographs. After finally getting through the crowd, I saw Khloe and a much older-looking Sophie standing in front of me. Sophie's eyes were shining. "Dad, I just saw your speech in the auditorium. I'm so proud of you." Everyone around me was saying how incredible you are. I gave a polite, distant smile and thanked her. Then I turned to leave. "Ethan," Khloe called out, her voice laced with anxiety. I turned back to look at her. The way she looked at me was still full of shock, as if she couldn't comprehend when I had changed. Changed from the middle-aged man she remembered, whose entire world revolved around her and our daughter. You were truly amazing today, she said sincerely. I had no idea you'd achieved so much in your field. So, have you finally realized your place? I asked, my tone mocking. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Khloe's face, but she quickly suppressed it. It's not because of your success that I want to get back together. I was trying to reconcile with you long before I knew any of this. I know you'll always resent me for betraying you, she said, a sense of panic in her voice. It seemed she was finally realizing just how far apart we had grown. She spoke quickly, her words tumbling out. The truth is, it was always you I loved. My thing with Leo was just a crush, a thrill, and a bit of vanity. I never, ever wanted to divorce you. Everything with Leo was just a game. I felt like I was listening to the biggest joke of this life and the last. But I let her continue. Khloe's voice was filled with regret. The only reason I fought so hard for custody of Sophie was to prevent our divorce, because I knew you'd never leave her. But I never imagined you'd actually give her up. I was trapped. I had no choice but to go through with it. But even after the divorce, I never planned on being with Leo. I was waiting for you to come back. Every single time I slept with him, I made sure we used protection. I never, ever intended to have his child. So, I was supposed to thank her for cheating on me, body and soul, but having the decency to wear a condom while she did it? She paused for a few seconds before continuing. When Leo insisted on marrying me, I hadn't actually agreed. Do you remember that night I called you? If you had just told me not to marry him, I wouldn't have. But you said nothing. So, out of anger, I agreed. Even on my wedding day, I was still waiting for you to come and stop it. If you had shown up, I would have chosen you in a heartbeat. But you never came, so I had to marry him. Listening to Khloe's version of love, all I could say was, wow. She continued, her voice choked with anguish. After marrying Leo, he went completely off the rails. He made me a laughingstock in the entire business community. It was only then that I truly, deeply understood how good you had been to me, how much you had tolerated. I was desperate to divorce him and get back together with you immediately. But I was pregnant with his child, and legally, I couldn't divorce him. So I hoped you would wait for me. I even tried to use Sophie to get you to change your mind, but you kept rejecting me. Do you have any idea how scared I was? I was so terrified that I would never get you back. Khloe's eyes were red, but I just found it pathetic. At the time, I certainly didn't feel any of her supposed fear. She had been just as arrogant and condescending as ever. Then, when Leo's actions caused me to have a miscarriage, I was furious, but deep down I was also relieved. It meant I could finally divorce him and be with you. She looked at me, her eyes filled with hope. Ethan, I'm sorry. I was so incredibly wrong before. From now on, if I ever do anything to hurt you again, I'll cut off my own legs. Dad, I promise I'll be good from now on, too. I'll never hurt your feelings again. Sophie chimed in, echoing her mother's vow. I looked at them, at their regret, their deep affection, their desperate hope. And I felt nothing. Seeing my lack of reaction, Khloe tried again. Ethan, please come back to us. Let us make up for all the pain we caused you. No need, I said, shaking my head. I healed from that pain a long time ago. I didn't need them, and I certainly didn't want them. Ethan, Khloe, don't you think, I interrupted, that you're no longer worthy of me? My voice was laced with a derision that cut through her self-deception. Khloe immediately tried to reassure me. Ethan, I love you for who you are. The man you were before, the man you are now. It doesn't matter how successful you are. But now that I am this successful, I asked with a humorless smile, why would I go back to digging through the trash? I didn't give her an inch of dignity. Her face flushed, with shame, perhaps. But she still didn't give up. Ethan, you've been single all this time, right? So that was it. My single status was the final piece of evidence she clung to, the proof that I would eventually come back. I smiled and looked away toward the edge of the crowd. Dr. Evelyn Reed walked briskly to my side and slipped her arm around my waist, as naturally as if she'd been waiting for my signal all along. She offered a polite nod to Khloe and Sophie. Hello, ex-wife. And hello, eldest daughter. Khloe's eyes were glued to Evelyn's hand, resting possessively on my hip. Ethan, to reject me, you'd just grab any random woman. She's not random. I cut her off, my patience gone. I was single for all those years because I was perfectly happy on my own. I'm not single anymore because I've found a woman who is so wonderful that I'm willing to start a new marriage with her. I watched Khloe's face crumble in disbelief and delivered the final blow. So, whether I'm single or not has nothing to do with you. It has only ever been about my own choice. And you, in my mind, are less than nothing. With that, I turned, and with Evelyn's arm still around me, we walked away. As we were leaving, Evelyn glanced back over her shoulder and said, loud enough for them to hear, I'm pregnant with Ethan's child. Twins. She had a real talent for twisting the knife. I didn't look back to see the expressions on their faces. I only vaguely heard Sophie's tearful voice ask her mother, Mom, is Dad really never coming back this time? Yes, Khloe replied, her voice strained and choked. He's really gone. He was gone a long time ago. It was only she who had been deceiving herself all this time.